Hello, everybody. If you can hear us and see us okay, please type llama in the chat or just say hello. Maybe let us know where you're viewing from today. We have somebody from Maryland. Let's see. Okay. Once we get the chat warming up a little bit, we know everyone can see us, then we can go ahead and get started. All right, we've got some llamas. Excellent. So we can go ahead and get started. Oh, from the Philippines. Hello. So, hello everybody. My name is Kitty and I will be your host for today's Etcher Mini Workshop preview. We are here with Kathleen Baraan, and she's going to be teaching us how to paint the feather texture on birds. So, if you have a question for Kathleen, put it in the comments in all capitals, and so I can see it more easily. And if you have a question that is relevant to what Kathleen is doing at the moment, I will ask her at that time. If not, I might hold those questions until the end when we do our question and answer session. And also, if you are painting along today, we do have a private Facebook group where you can share your work. It is private, so no one else can see it except participants of our workshops and our demos. And there you can get some feedback from Kathleen and just share your work if you'd like. So I'm going to put that link in the chat right now. And Kathleen, I'm going to hand it over to you from here.
Thank you so much, Kitty. So hi, everybody. My name is Kathleen. Today, for this mini workshop preview, we're going to be doing this bird, but since it's just a preview, I'm going to show you what we'll be doing with the mini workshop first, so you get an idea. So for the mini workshop, we'll be painting this wood-spotted kingfisher. It's endemic in our country. Most of my subjects would be endemic species in our country. I use my art and my passion to promote awareness and raise awareness about these endemic species and to promote their protection of wildlife and things like that. You could definitely do the same. So this is a wonderful bird, lots of textures, and even the branch. It might seem hard, but there's an easy way to do it. I'm going to show you, so you'll be able to end up with something like this. And so you see, it's pretty therapeutic. The strokes right here, that's pretty easy to do. It just takes time. In the future, you can come up with something like this, so you can add backgrounds to your birds. I also have done this. This is also Philippine dragon. All of my subjects that I'm presenting are endemic species in our country still. Then, as you can see, the branch textures, it's pretty complex. It's very detailed. The only difference with that from what I have right here is that it just took more time. So if you be able to learn how to do the basic things, you basically can do it that detailed. So I tend to enjoy things. So yeah, I think I'll go ahead and start. So I have a picture right here. This is a Palawan Flowerpecker, Palawan, from the islands of the Philippines. So this is my reference photo. I have it with me. And what we're practicing right here is the skill of observation. So these are the initial steps that I do for watercolor. I have a pre-sketched bird right here because we're focusing on watercolor techniques, right? So the first thing I do is to do a monochrome version of shadows and highlights. What do we mean by that? So initially, I lay down the black and white. I have a black and white picture right here. So I can do that real quickly to just give you the feel of how I do it. So I'll just use a black paint, very light. I'm using an etcher brush, by the way, because it's very soft, but it has a bit of snap to it. And the thing I like about it is because it's synthetic. No animals were harmed in the producing these materials. So yeah. Kitty, go. Do you have like questions while I'm
Not quite yet.
Gotcha. Cool. Just let me know. So I'm laying down where I think the shadows are very dark. So that's initially what I do. But in this case, though, let's go back to our reference photo. I usually do this step when the bird or any other subject has lots of light or white spaces. In this case, it doesn't have much white spaces. So I don't think that would be necessary for this bird. But you could definitely do that. Since this is just a preview, I'll go ahead with the next step. I'll show you. So I'll go ahead and proceed with the lightest colors. In watercolor, we were taught to go from light to dark. But the problem with that is if you go from light to dark, sometimes you tend to go back to the initial colors because you don't know how dark you have gone through. So this technique would be really helpful. So I'm going to be grabbing these colors. I'm using Mijello Mission Gold colors, just a yellow, primary yellow. You could definitely use any primary yellows you have. So I have this. I'm laying this down, just a flat wash. So flat wash is a term for watercolor. It's an even tone or even color for this specific space. So I'm doing that flat wash. There's a white space right here, so I'm leaving that in. So just doing that. Now, if we go back to the steps right here, the essence of this first step, as you can see right here, even I have laid down a first wash for the lightest colors, I already have like those shadows. So if you do this with like birds with white feathers, then that's pretty helpful. So you don't have to like go back with several times for the lightest colors you have. So that's my yellow right there. By the way, I'm using Borchani Bonazzi, a big brush. Etcher definitely has a big brush, but I guess this is way bigger. So just because of the size, I'm using this one. It also has like a little snap to it, so that's what I like about it. I'm using blue. I believe this is a Cobalt Blue Hue. I like this color because it pretty much it is close to the lightest color right here. So I'll do that. Just spread it right here. So as you can see, for most watercolor artists, they lay down water first before they go with a wash. It's okay. Oops. I painted over this one. That's cool.
Sometimes
Anyway,
that
so
happens.
yeah, it does. So yeah, I'm just going go ahead and fill in the space right here. There you go. And then I around the eyes. So again, this is just a flat wash. And okay, this is a very bright blue. You don't notice it here, but there are certain textures in the feather. Let me go ahead and show you. In this back area, the feathers for birds usually they have like this pattern of like a roof tile kind of thing, just like that, and then you know how the arrangement of roof would be. So we'll go ahead and do that later on for this one. So right now I'm gonna blend it just right here. Okay. I'm gonna go back with um some colors right here for the. Yeah, okay, so initially I'm just laying down my colors real quick. These are the lightest colors. And then I guess we can paint the fruit that the bird is holding right here. I sadly am not able to identify what fruit that is, but these are pretty common for flower peckers since they eat a wide range of fruits, nectars, and some little insects too. So I'm doing this as a highlight. It's a relatively simple shape, so I'm just go ahead and do that. So yeah, it gives me the impression of light right there.
Kathleen?
Yep.
So when you did the fruit, did you put down the stronger color and then use clean water just to kind of spread it?
Yeah. I kind of like did a shortcut of the technique I was gonna discuss. So just because it's a relatively small fruit, so a good point there. Um, nice observation. Okay, so I think we are done with the lightest colors right here. I can lay down. Oops, I forgot the feet. Oh my gosh. All right, so I'll go. Oops, that's too dark. I'll go ahead and go with the lightest colors right here. And then I think that's it. Okay. So the next step, I'll go ahead with, proceed with my next step. Lay down my darkest colors. So this is pretty where it gets haywire for most artists, because what you were taught from watercolor is to go light to dark. But this is very essential, because if you go from light colors first and then dark colors next, you kind of have an idea how dark you should go for the middle tones, middle tones. um, so yeah, I'm gonna do that real quickly right here. So essentially, these are this step is also for the details. Right, there you go. This is the wings, details for the wings. Gonna go ahead and go over that real quick. Then there's a bit of a purple-ish shade, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that too. And then right here. So for this third step, I'm using a detailed brush, because for the darkest colors, they're usually very detailed. I'm using Etcher brush, by the way, pointed round brush. It's a size 6. You could definitely use any brush. I like Etcher again because it has a snap to it, and that's useful when you're doing details. So I'm gonna do some strokes right here, because that's where the darkest colors, I think. There's a shadow right here for the wing. There you go. All right. So just filling that in. So, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Next is I'll go ahead with some black. I'll lay this on the eyes. It's very, the blackest, just lay in the blackest black you have, really. It helps to kind of like gauge how dark you would go for the midtones later on. So since this is just a preview, again, no pressure of painting along if you haven't like laid down your initial sketch. It's totally fine, because we're focusing on watercolor techniques and how to make bird textures with it. So I'm just it's helpful to look at your black and white photo for this one. So I see that the darkest values are right here. So just gonna go ahead and fill that in real quick.
And Kathleen, we do have a question in the
Yeah.
chat. Do you need to wait for that first base layer to dry completely before going into the dark colors?
Good question. Yeah, you definitely would need to wait, because for the dark colors, you want it to be as sharp as possible, because we're talking about details right here. Um, so yeah, for some artists, since they go from light to dark, they wait for. They don't necessarily wait for it to completely dry. They wanna they want it to blend, really. But for me, it's very important, and it's dry actually right here, just because I have laid down not that much color. That's very important as well, to kind of like see how much color you're adding. So in this beak, I'm focusing on the beak. Let me see if you can show you that. And just tracing it right here, the outline. So do that. There's a bit of a feather right here. One of the distinctive characteristics of this Palawan Flowerpecker is this orange. I don't know if it's seen in the camera. This orange color in this breast area, the chest area for the bird. So these simple things, it might just seem simple for artists, like, oh, there's a color orange right here, there's a spot right here, but really it's very important, especially for scientists, because those are used for identification for birds. So that's one thing that it's kind of like more of an appreciation for it. So I'm almost done with the third step. So I'm just initially layering it down real quickly. I'm going to add some black. So we're talking about textures, bird textures. My strokes are initially just like line strokes combined together real closely, so that you can create this wonderful, well, bird texture. And then I'm gonna focus on my yellows. So I'm using this orange yellow, Mijello Mission Gold, again, if anyone's asking. Um, you could definitely use any color you like. And then I'm gonna go ahead and, so this is from the first step that we made. Remember the monochrome version of the shadows. I'm gonna go ahead and lay down this yellow orange on top of that. So that's pretty quick. All right. Then we have some textures right here, and it goes light just at the end of it. Right, there you go.
And Kathleen,
Mhm.
would it be helpful to study some of the bird pictures just so that you can understand like the direction of the feathers and everything?
That's a good question. Yeah. For since I'm a what do you call this? I'm a graduate of biology, so I definitely am a fan of observation. Observation really helps. Um, if you have seen Sarah Postner's live mini workshop, rather, she has given an in-depth discussion about how to paint birds,
Yeah.
and it's pretty amazing because if you want to learn how to sketch birds, like really from scratch, you could definitely visit that. But this time we're focusing on the watercolor techniques that you can use for the bird that you have already sketched. But yeah, that's a good question. It's very important for, especially for artists who do detailed work. It's very important to capture those little details because that's what sets them apart from the rest of the species. So that's really important. Okay. So as you can see, I've laid down the darkest color for the feet. I think I did justice to that. And yeah, I think, oops, okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead with some bright orange. This is a nature palette. It's really cool. You can bring it anywhere, by the way.
And they're
Um,
absolutely adorable.
it is, yeah. It's. I mean, those are just limited colors I have, and it's because usually I am a fan of ceramic palettes. Most watercolor artists are. So I have this. This is just like a plate, really. um. So yeah, it's for mixing, but it's nice to have something like this so that you can have like those colors, um, not all over the place.
And are you using cold press or hot press paper?
Oh, good question. I'm using the cold pressed 100% paper. This is the Perfect Sketchbook from, again, Etcher. Uh, Normally I use Arche. Um, One artist has taught me about that. It's a French brand, so you have to pronounce it that way. So, or I believe most people know it as Arches. So, yeah, I use that, and I also use Fabriano Artistico. That's also 100% um, watercolor paper. I'm using cold pressed right now because it's easy for blending. Hot pressed might be a little bit tricky to work with. And so, yeah, in this, I'm pretty surprised. It's my first time to work with a sketchbook that is this thick. Like, I'm really surprised. It can be like in par with Arches and other um, papers that I use. So I thought I was just gonna stick with Arches and that paper. I usually work with full sheets and just cut them, but this is really nice. It really has blown me away. So,
And Kathleen, was it
mhm.
Sarah Post who did
Oh,
the bird
uh,
drawing?
yeah,
Yeah,
Sarah Posner,
listener. Thank you.
Postner. Yep, and I believe she's a veterinarian, so she has like this
Hmm.
deep background about it. I'm
Specifically
just
chickens. He has a specialty in chickens.
right, right. So this that's really cool, isn't it? Like, to have that profession and to have art as your hobby. So okay, so right now By the way, I have the branch painted so that you can see it in the end, how it would look like. It's different from this branch. Um, so right now you have, so we're done with the third step, right? So like this one, I'm going to show you. So I've just laid down my darkest colors, and now you have a bird that looks like you've processed it in a Photoshop and you've just blown the contrast right there. So that's totally fine. That's what you're aiming for. So now you have the darkest colors. You know how to go fill in the colors in between. You know how to kind of like gauge how your midtones will be. So that's what we'll be doing right now. I'll be using again this bigger brush from Sketcher because we're talking about midtones, not very detailed. I'm going to go ahead and start with a blue first. So this is just, right now what I'm doing is just gauging how light I want to go. Excuse me. And then I'm going to do that. So it kind of like is blending in. And then again, I mentioned earlier that there's this little pattern right here at the back of the birds, like how, um, you know, how the tiles of the roof would be. You could definitely use or do that in a bird. So let me show you how. I'll lay down a wet wash first, and then with a slightly smaller brush, I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of my blue, and then just do this pattern right here, like that, alternating patterns. So I'm gonna do that right now. So the oops, it's too wet. Okay, maybe I'll just have to wait a bit. So while that's drying up, it's okay to go over your darkest colors because if you go dark black anyway, it's gonna give that impression of um, just a dark pitch black, and it's not blended. So you definitely can blend it right here. So for this strokes, this one, it's very detailed when it goes to the top. So I just do this jiggly lines, just like that, just like how you do with calligraphy. And then I'm leaving a space right here because that's where the highlight is. That's pretty cool. Okay. And I'm almost done with that. Gave me the impression already that it's coming together. So right now, let me see. Okay, there we go. I think we can go back with the blues already. So just those small patterns. Most birds, especially flower peckers, have this pattern. So it might be helpful for you to, especially if you're trying to do bird watching and you want to paint them real quick. That's one. So you see it from afar, it looks very detailed, but really all you did was this on a wet
Yeah.
wash, on top of a wet wash. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and do the wings closer to the trailing end. So this is just a light wash on top of it. I'm not worried about the details because it's already dry. Could definitely go over that.
I'm
And
impressed
then,
how quickly this is all coming together.
oh, thank you so much. It is, yeah. And it's really traumatic at first when I first tried this technique, because especially when you're just in a third step, it was like, oh my god, what did I do? Like, so yeah, it's all part of a process. You could definitely go with a normal light to dark technique with watercolor. But then again, I'm just trying to save you time as well as effort and paint, essentially, because there's a quick way to do it and there's a more practical way to do it. So I'm just filling in this area right here. There's a bead of water. I'll go ahead and just remove that. Okay. So now that I know how dark my darkest colors are, just gonna add that in real quick. And right here, this is supposed to be white. That's my fault. I was able to. Maybe we could save that by lifting. Oh, it's already in a drying stage. So we have like three stages for water. One is when it's technically wet. Second is when it's settling in already. It's wet. It's damp. But once you add colors, it ruins everything. So that's the second stage, and then the third stage is of course the dry, when it's dry. So it's there. I'm gonna add a bit of black for shadows or Payne's gray. Some artists are very specific with shadows. Some use blue, some use Payne's gray, some use black. Doesn't really matter. In this case, because you're just using shadows. And then I'm gonna just blend this stroke right here because it looks a bit sharp. So I want to do that.
Kathleen, can you remind us what kind of bird this is?
Yeah, this is a Palawan flowerpecker. So flowerpeckers usually feed on nectars, berries, fruits, small fruits, and insects. It's endemic in an island in our country. Called Palawan. It's very famous. I think most people would be familiar with it.
Mhm.
Um, and what's nice about this is it's classified by as least concerned. When we say least concerned, species are usually classified as endangered, vulnerable, um, extinct. But these species right here, they're classified as least concerned. But the thing is, the trend of or the number, the trend for their population is really decreasing. So that doesn't mean a species is classified as least concerned. You won't. There's no need to protect them. There's a constant need to protect these species because if you come to think of it, we just live in harmony with them, and without them, there's not much we can do in this world. So we're just a part of a big picture. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna go ahead and go back with the berries because the berry rather. My bad. Just because I think it's just too light. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back with my third step right here, the darkest colors. Third. There you go. Step, the darkest colors. Um. So yeah, watercolor tends to um go light for like 30% of the initial color that you drop right there. So that's the trick with watercolor. So you want to see or gauge how strong your colors you laid strong the colors you lay down. I'm gonna go ahead with just a darker one so that when it dries, it's powerful a powerful color. So that's just the highlights. The eyes look a bit soggy. We're gonna add some red. You can't really see it in a picture, but there's a red right here, brownish red. So I'm gonna go around that corner. Right, there you go. And then I'm leaving a white space right here just to give it some highlights. Is it seen? Okay. I'm gonna have to go there around. Okay. And I think we are done. I'm just gonna have to like do a couple of quick sketches right there. Cool. All right. So I think we're done. So again, what we basically did is the monochrome version of the shadows and highlights. For these are important for birds that have white feathers. So you'll come up with something like this, not as extremely contrasted as this, but yeah, just an initial layer. So that when you go to the next step, the lightest colors, you already have like the shadows and highlights set already. So that's pretty easy for you to do. Go with the darkest color. That's the next step because you want to know how dark you will go for the rest of the colors. And then lastly, from that contrasted look, you'll just go ahead and gauge. Go ahead and just paint the normal way. Um, Gauge the shadows, the highlights, how much strong the colors you will get, and that's pretty much it. So for the branch, it also applies the same technique. You go from the lightest colors. I initially started with this light color right here. I think it's a yellow ochre, but you could definitely just use any yellows mixed with and tone it down. We'll go ahead and discuss like a bit of a color um, color wheel or color concept in a mini workshop. So yeah, so for the newcomers, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and introduce what we'll be doing with the mini workshop again.
Great.
So again, awesome. So I'll go ahead and just show you. This is the reference photo. This is a wood spotted kingfisher. Lots of details again. And if we get close to it, I'll go ahead and make it close to the camera. As you can see, the lightest color for this portion of the wing is yellow-ish, and then this is a different light color. So we'll go ahead and discuss how to break that down. Again, lots of intricate details. And hold on, let me just go ahead and refocus. There you go. So this is a branch that looks like it's hard to do, but if you tend to think of it as a watercolor stroke, these are just wet on wet, and then these are just dry brush techniques. So you'll come up with something like this. And this is a relatively simple picture. Again, you could go ahead and once you have those basic techniques learned, if you have more time, you could come up with something like this. Um, this is a really bad background. I was a beginner at that time and I was exploring papers. That's definitely a reject for me. And this is a good example of a arch paper, hot pressed paper. And the thing with hot pressed paper is it tends to dry easily. So again, I'm going to show you the details of the branch right here with the moss.
That is so pretty.
Thank you. It's really it looks complicated. It's detailed, yes, but again, once you learn how to do this kind of branch right here with the initial moss, and if you have like more time, if you want to relax, you can definitely achieve that level of detailed work. So yeah, I think we're done with this one.
Great.
I guess I'm gonna hand over things to Kitty. That was pretty quick.
And speaking of which, again, I am so impressed how quickly this came together. And it looks so detailed. It looked like something that took a really long time.
It does, and it's just a beautiful thing about it. So.
It is just lovely. And so a little bit about the mini workshop, everybody. It is on Saturday, November 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a 90-minute class where you can learn all these techniques from Kathleen and ask a lot more questions and paint along. It is a step-by-step class. And if you can't make it to the live class, the recording is available just a couple days afterward. So you can always watch it anytime that you like. And it's a really wonderful way to support Kathleen and her art. And yeah, so that's the mini workshop. I'm going to once again put it into the chat so that you have the link.
Kitty, so what I'm doing right here is I'm just trying to lift the colors that I made. So yeah, so don't mind me right here. And it's a good thing I'm using this sketchbook. It doesn't really erase the whole thing when you do
Yeah.
the lifting. So yeah,
I
okay.
have some comments in the chat for you.
Mhm.
Let me just scroll back a little bit to find them. Saying, great painting. Thank you for this interesting demo on the beautiful bird. Beautiful job. And love it, Kathleen. And the branch texture is really interesting to be learning about, which I agree. I love that branch. And there is I would consider this a bit of a request. I would love to do
Uh-huh.
a mossy branch in the mini workshop.
Yes. Good thing you mentioned that. We'll definitely learn how to do this mossy branch.
Oh, good.
The reason why I have this laid down is because we can't do like this. Otherwise, um, we can't like do this. Otherwise, this is a bit of it's just two things that are in contrast, and I want to focus on a main subject first. But in a mini workshop, it's definitely we're going to be placing them in their environment really. So that's something that we will be learning step by step again. It's a good thing Kitty has pointed that out. It's a 90-minute workshop. We'll go ahead and do these two things, the subject and the branch. So yeah, pretty interesting. And this is just a preview, you guys, and we've already learned a lot. So any work in the mini workshop, we'll go ahead and discuss like very in-depth and detailed. It's going to be an in-depth discussion essentially.
Excellent. And everybody, we would love to know what kind of birds are endemic to your area. So let us know in the comment section underneath the video. So not in the chat section, but in the comment section under the video. We'd love to see what kind of birds are around you and what kind of birds you would like to paint out of those birds.
Awesome.
Put that in the comment area. And let's see. So are there any last questions for Kathleen? If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat for her. In the meantime, I'm going to drop in some links, again, for the mini workshop, and also our Facebook group where you can share your work if you'd like, and also the link to our feedback survey. We would really love to hear your thoughts about today's demo, any suggestions that you might have. We really appreciate all your input so we can keep bringing you content that you enjoy. So if there are no more comments, I think we can go ahead and wrap up. Aw, there's a comment in the chat saying, thank you so much for making my 2020 wish come true.
Oh,
That's really sweet.
I'm glad I'm part of your wish, though. I mean, it's really unexpected, but yeah. Thank you so much as well for watching. I hope you do more of these in the future.
Great. All right, so I think we can go ahead and wrap up.
Mhm.
So everybody, if you painted along with today's exercise, please share your work on social media and tag Kathleen and Etcher Studio. And I'm going to put those tags into the chat right now. We would really love to see what you've done.
Definitely.
And maybe in the meantime, you can also paint some of the endemic birds in your area so that you can practice some of these techniques before the mini workshop.
Right. So, I guess some parting words maybe.
Yes.
So you could definitely learn a lot with these simple techniques. This techniques that you're seeing right here. I'm giving them away. It's not mine to keep anyway. Um, and it's an idea that's not originated from me. It's basically a combination of lots of ideas from different artists' experiences. So you could definitely use these. And yeah, I would love to see what endemic species or birds you have in your area. If you're very much interested in painting, you can use your craft to something that's very useful. Just try to connect my craft into something that I that's related to the advocacy, and you could definitely do the same. So it's not just about birds; you could definitely use it to in other species as well. So yeah.
Excellent. All right, everybody. Well, we do these free live demos a couple times a week, so please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications so you can stay up to date and be alerted when we go live. We also have our Make More Art podcast, our product demonstrations, and much more. And thank you, Kathleen, again for all of your tips and your insight and sharing your bird paintings with us. And thank you, everyone, for watching today. And until we see you next time, make more art. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.